and welcome back to my kitchen. But in case this is the first time you're stopping by, my name is Gina and I'm a wife and mother from the Midwest, and I enjoy cooking fresh meals for my family, and sometimes I make videos of my recipes and I post them here on YouTube. And today for dinner we are going to be having my version of the Panera broccoli cheddar soup, which happens to be a huge favorite here in the Midwest. I don't know about the rest of the country because I never leave home pretty much. So in any case, if you've never tried it, it is super delicious. It is a very rich and creamy cheddar cheese broth with broccoli and carrots floating in there. And it's seasoned with a barrage of delicious amenities. And it is just wonderful in a freezing cold winter day like it is here today in Chicago. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in to our ingredients list. So, let's see, where are we going to start? So first we're going to need some flour, because we're going to be making a roux, and that's how we thicken the broth up. I should probably back up a little. And then next, to finish our roux and to cook off our vegetables, we're going to be using some butter. Excuse me. Which I might add a little bit of drizzle of olive oil to the part of the butter that we're going to add for sauteing the veggies, just so it doesn't burn, and I don't have that out here, so just be aware of that. And then our vegetables are going to be a yellow onion. We're going to use the whole thing, and I would say that that's probably a small or a medium onion. Just 1 clove of garlic. We're going to be using some pre-shredded carrots, which are like the little matchstick ones. Just for ease, but you can feel free to go ahead and peel and slice up some regular carrots if you don't have that. And then we're going to be using some fresh broccoli. Excuse me, I'm still getting over yet another cold. And you could use frozen broccoli, but it's just not going to be as good. So I prefer to use fresh for this recipe. And then the most important ingredient and the star of the show is the sharp cheddar cheese. So I've personally found that the Sargento Off the Block brand is okay for melting into soups. A lot of the times the pre-shredded bags that you have come coated in like this powdery stuff, and I think it's like vegetable cellulose or something, but it prevents clumping, and that usually actually prevents the cheese from melting properly in a cream sauce. So I would recommend that you get this brand. I am not sponsored by them or anything. This is just my preference, but if you can't find this one, go ahead and just get the block and go ahead and shred it. And this is 2 cups of cheddar cheese. I prefer the sharp cheddar or even extra sharp because it is a very creamy broth. And then have a little extra on the side for serving. I have an open bag already. And then for the bulk of our broth, we're going to be using 2 cups of organic chicken stock, and then a whole thing of half and half. And you could use fat-free half and half if you want, or even whole milk, and have great results both ways. I just happen to have this right now. And then our seasonings are going to be some ground mustard, and this adds a really nice, I would say, almost like an acid taste to it. You're not going to taste the mustard, so don't skip it. This really adds to the flavor, since I guess it increases the sharpness because it is so creamy and rich, so don't skip that. A little bit of smoked paprika, some sea salt, some black pepper, and then optional is a pinch of cayenne pepper, which does not make the soup spicy at all. It just lends a little bit of I guess a little bit of spice, but it's not spicy. I don't know. So if you're adventurous or if you like spicy foods, go ahead and add the cayenne. But if you guys are at all questionable about it, you can totally leave it out. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get our onions going and get my veggies prepped, and I'll be back when we start adding stuff to the pot. All right, friends, so I have my onions, which I have sweated here. They're not quite translucent, but they're going to cook in the roux and in the broth and so on and so forth. So we're not really trying to like get any browning on them, because we also don't want to add any color like from fond that would develop on the bottom to the broth, because we do want it to be a nice and yellow cheddar-y looking broth. And I know I didn't stress this in the beginning, like this is an absolute, like this kicks Panera's butt. Like you will never want to eat Panera again after you taste the soup, because Panera tastes very processed. So in any case, that's what our onions look like. And then I've got our clove of minced garlic here. We're just going to let that go for about 30 seconds here. And I'm sauteing our onions in 1 tablespoon of butter and a little drizzle of olive oil. And then I have 4 tablespoons of butter over here, which are going to be used for making our roux. So I'm actually going to go ahead and drop in all of those tablespoons of butter and let that melt down. And then in case you're not familiar with a roux is basically just equal parts of butter and flour, which is used as a thickener to make like a bechamel sauce or a cream soup or, you know, various things. So, fun fact, I hosted Christmas and I lost my quarter cup measuring cup. I don't know where it went, but in case you aren't aware, a quarter cup is 4 tablespoons. So I've got the butter melting down and I'm going to add 1, 2, 3, 4 tablespoons of flour. And we're going to go ahead and stir that in. And we're going to cook it for a minute to try to cook off some of the raw, uncooked flour flavor that it would have if we were to just start building on it right now. Right now it looks a little grainy and separated, and that's fine because we're just going to cook it for a minute. And you'll see it becomes more liquidy and homogeneous. We are not going to go ahead and brown this like you would for like a New Orleans style roux, which you actually want it to be like a deep coppery color when you're making things like, I can't think of a recipe off the top of my head, but New Orleans type of food. Let's see if I can get this in the cabinet without dropping flour. Okay. All right, so that looks good actually. Like I said, I don't want to brown it because I don't want to add color to our sauce because we want to see it nice and cheesy and delish. It won't hurt it though, guys, like if it does get a little bit brown. So, all right, that's nice and foamy. First thing we're going to do is stir in our half and half. So this is about 2 cups inside of here. If you want to measure it out, I don't know if it's exactly 2 cups. Bear with me, guys. I'm doing stuff with one hand again here. And I need to get out my whisk. Okay. So we're going to give this one more nice little stir. Yikes. One-handed cooking is not all it's cracked up to be. So we're going to add our half and half a little bit and make sure everything is whisked up. And this is how you're going to avoid having a clumpy sauce. Go ahead and add the rest. This recipe doubles wonderfully. Actually, the last time I made a double batch, and everybody just like absolutely enjoyed it. My husband had a couple of his co-workers over, DeAndre and Brett, who subscribe to my channel. So if you guys see it, go ahead and comment and let everybody know how much you love this freaking soup, because I made a double batch and it was gone, like no leftovers. So anyways, we're going to go ahead and we're going to raise the flame a little bit because we want this to start coming to a boil. Or I guess a simmer is more like it. And then let's open up our chicken stock. Come on, one-handed Gina. All right, so in case you also didn't know, this is a 32-ounce thing of chicken stock, which means that there's 4 cups inside of here. So we're going to use half of this. So I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit. And then whisk. And I don't know why I made this in this giant pot. It's because last time I doubled it and I just pulled out the same pot that I made it in last time. But you could definitely do this in a smaller pot. And what is unique about my recipe is that this is a 1-pot recipe. So most cream of soups, if you will, they'll have you make like their roux in a separate saucepan or in like a little frying pan. And then you just dirty too many dishes. And there's absolutely no reason to do that. Like your onions have already simmered off. We can make the roux right in here. We can make the cream sauce right in here. We can add all of our liquids, dump in our veggies, and we'll be well on our way. So, you're going downstairs? Why do you have another outfit on? Yeah, I know you're a girl, but you guys just had jammies on.
Well, no, I don't want jammies. Look at you.
Okay, are you taking that laundry to the basement?
Yeah, I just look at you.
You're so wonderful.
Mommy, I just studied this.
Okay, girls. All right. Anyways, back to the recipe. Those are my daughters, Olivia and Felicity, in case you don't know. All right. So this, I need a little bit more. I'm just like jiggling it to feel if it's halfway gone. And that's good. I'll go ahead and I'll leave it out because we might need to add more in the end if it's too thick. And that is that. I'm going to go ahead and let that come to a nice simmer. And then I'm going to finish breaking down the rest of our veggies. So the carrots, I would say this is about a cup. I just take like a handful, like you don't have to exactly measure it. And then I'm going to start with 1 head of broccoli, and it should be about 3 cups. So I think I actually might be fine with 1 head. And if you want to, you can feel free to peel like these stems and then chop them into rounds as well if you don't want to waste them. You definitely won't notice that they're in there in this soup. I'm not really a fan of doing that like in other recipes where you have like whole pieces of broccoli because I just find it unappealing and I don't want to eat them. But this is a perfectly acceptable way to use broccoli stems as long as you peel them. But I'm not going to do that. So I will be back when we dump in our veggies and start adding our seasonings. Okie dokie. So I don't remember if I mentioned previously in the video. So if you don't want to use half and half, you could use fat-free half and half, or you could use whole milk in place of the half and half that I'm using here. It's totally up to you, and I've done it with like a combination of both because last time, like I said, I had to double it. So last time I doubled it and I did half and half whole milk, and it didn't taste any different. It was still delish, so don't freak out. If you happen to have these ingredients and you're like, I don't have half and half, like go ahead and just make it with the whole milk. But I wouldn't really probably recommend going with 2% or with skim milk because I've never tried that and I don't know how it's going to turn out. So that being said, here are our vegetables. That's such a weird thing to say when you say our and our together. So this is about 3 cups of broccoli florets, and they're just cut into smallish florets. I mean, some are really teeny. Basically, each one that was a large floret, I kind of just half it because we are going to be hitting this with an immersion blender or a regular blender if you don't have that. And then, as I mentioned, this is about a cup of carrots. And then for ease, so I don't burn myself like I've done before previously, I just measured out all of our spices. So this is about a half of a teaspoon of black pepper, a half of a teaspoon of salt, half of a teaspoon of dry mustard powder, half of a teaspoon of smoked paprika, and I know it looks like more, but I just didn't dump it all in one spot on accident, and then a pinch, which is like a scant quarter teaspoon of cayenne pepper. So we're going to go ahead and dump this in to our roux base, whatever you want to call it, soup base, which is nice and thick now. And like for ease, I just wanted to all of the measurements to be half of a teaspoon for you guys. But if you don't know by now, like you do always have to taste your food before you serve it. So like you could need to add like up to another quarter of a teaspoon of salt in here, depending on what brand of cheese you use, because they all have different salt contents and so on and so forth. So this is looking really great already, guys. All right, and the next step is we're going to go ahead and just dump in our raw veggies, which of course were washed before I cut them up. So I'm going to get everybody into the pool nice and happy. Can you tell I'm excited to eat this, guys? Like, I really love this soup, and I hope you do too. The other day, somebody made a really rude comment. They're like, oh my gosh, your video was not ready to be uploaded, and you published it anyways. And I was all like, well, what do you mean? And they're not getting back to me. So if you guys aren't aware, this is my style of filming. Like, clearly that offended me. I shouldn't let it bother me, but I guess it did in any case. But like, I'm a real mom, and this is our real dinner, and I'm filming this in real life, and we are actually going to eat this. And yes, my child is laughing in the background, and yes, sometimes I burn myself, and sometimes I drop an F-bomb, but this is it. This is who I am, and I hope you guys enjoy my videos as much as I enjoy making them for you, because I really, really do enjoy it. It makes me so happy to watch my following grow. I can't believe we made it over 1,000 subscribers this last month, like, and now I'm getting like 200 subscribers a month. It's so crazy to me. Like, I can't believe it that you guys watch my little videos. So anyways, just a quick thanks while this comes to a nice simmer again. I'm going to go ahead and lower our flame. Oh, look, there's me. Hi. To like medium low, I would say. And then we're going to simmer this for like 10 minutes and check on it and see how our veggies are doing. And I'm actually going to go ahead and cover this with a large top because I don't want any of the liquid to evaporate. Like, in fact, we may end up having to add a little extra chicken stock in the event that that happens. So I'm going to go ahead and set a timer for 10 minutes, just in case I get distracted. There's me again, and I'm not going to show you my face because I'm looking like crap today. And we have a giant, well, there it is anyways, a giant pile of Christmas decorations to be put away. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys go for a minute, and I'll be back with the next step. Okay, so insert sip of wine. This is what it looks like. I'm going to go ahead and raise it back up to a medium heat. Nice and thick. It has actually been about 9 minutes, and our broccoli is tender. I did have it covered, and I did stir it about 1 time. Actually, I don't need to raise it that much. It's pretty hot. So keep it on medium-low. And the next step is to hit it with an immersion blender. I prefer this method because I happen to have one. I have this Cuisinart one that I've had for years, and it works great. And this way you're not like dirtying a whole nother piece of a blender. Gosh, that made a lot of sense, guys. Anyways, try to keep your dishes to a minimum. If you happen to have an immersion blender, this works great. If not, go ahead and remove half of the soup and put it in a blender and go ahead and puree it. And you will have to be careful if you're using a regular blender that doesn't have a vented lid, because pressure will build because it's hot, the soup. So go ahead and cover it with a tea towel and keep your hand on top of the blender carafe lid just to make sure that you don't burn yourself, because I've definitely done that before. So I'm going to go ahead and stop talking and hit this with a blender. I like some chunks of broccoli. That's why I'm like mixing it like this, because I don't want it to be like all straight up like pureed broccoli. We like a little bit of chunks. That looks pretty good, actually. So as you can see, there's like a 50-50 mix of florets and carrots and pureed. No way! Not another outfit. Now I have to lock your room. In case you guys aren't counting, this is the 3rd outfit they've had on since I started making this video. So I need to go ahead and hit pause for a second and lock my children's room. They are a nice flower dress. Anyways. Alright, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and start adding our cheese little by little. Probably about a cup at a time. We can do like 2 or 3 additions depending. And then just start mixing it in until it's completely melted. As you can see, I switched back to my handy dandy wooden spoon because we don't need to whisk it anymore. Also, you don't want to have the heat very high right now, because I've never had it happen to me, but I've heard that you can break the sauce. I'm so sorry, I still sound gross. If it's simmering, like it'll do something to the cheese and like break it, like meaning like you'll get like a clumpy soup. But I don't know, I'm always just careful and don't have it simmering too wildly. Oh yeah, boy. Shit looks good. It smells heavenly, guys. I'm actually making this. This is not something we eat that often because it's pretty not so healthy. I mean, it's homemade, so it's not like super processed like the stuff from Panera is. But I mean, as you can see, it's full of cheese and heavy, or half and half, and so on and so forth. But my father-in-law is here from Mexico for the first time. I actually got to meet him for the first time since I've been married to my husband, which is almost 5 years, I think now. I know, terrible wife. So that's been really cool, and I've been trying to feed him like different interesting American things so he could really make the most out of his trip. You need to have high heels on?
No. I'll wipe it.
I'll wipe it? Okay. Sorry, guys. I don't know why this is the Felicity Pearl show today. And that is it. Okay, you can have a wipe too. Here, take a wipe. I think I'm actually going to go ahead and add just a teeny extra splash of chicken stock because it is looking pretty thick. And I'm going to be waiting a little bit for my husband to get home. He's out shopping. So Before I go ahead and sign off and tell our taste test when we get everything plated up, I will give it a taste and see if we need to add in any extra salt. Excuse me, Fief. Okay. You don't need socks. You have your high heels on.
No, me don't have high heels.
I would say it needs about another quarter teaspoon of salt. I'm going to go ahead and I'll add that and I'll be back with our taste test. All right, guys. As you can see, I've already started in on my soup because I'm very hungry and it is late. So we're just going to have to get a taste test from my husband and my father-in-law who is here.
Grandpa.
Mmm, it's delicious.
You like it?
I like it.
Oh, he says it's good. Él es mi suegro de México. Él está aquí con nosotros para Navidad por la primera vez. Qué chido. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you so much for stopping by my kitchen. I cannot stress to you enough how much we love this recipe and how delicious it is. And if you give it a try, you will never go back to Panera. There's nothing like homemade food, guys. Seriously. So if you enjoyed my video, please go ahead and give me a thumbs up. And if you really liked it, oh, happy Christmas. And if you'd love to go ahead and subscribe.
Better than Panera. It's really good. I like it.
Oh, see, we're getting rave reviews across the table, guys. Anyways, go ahead and hit subscribe on my channel if you loved it. I appreciate you stopping by, and thanks and have a great night. Stop eating butter.